Hello, welcome back to another episode of Awakening with Soulspirational. I'm Tish, and still here in the studio, I am with Steve Young, Rick Stuttler, and we are going to make this a trilogy. So if you've watched the last couple of episodes, then yeah, here's the third one. Or if you're watching on YouTube, where you can watch them subsequently if you know you're bored and you have the time to watch us, I suppose. But this is really interesting stuff. If you're open to it. And really, I was thinking in between the last episode and doing this one so this episode we're going to talk about synchronicity. And I was thinking, the people who are meant to see this or these episodes will find us because it's an alignment or a synchronicity for it to be so. So, as I like to do, I'm going to read the definition of synchronicity again. So it's not my opinion, just setting the foundation here. So synchronicity, the simultaneous occurrence of events which appear significantly related but have no discernible causal connection. For example, such a synchronicity is quite staggering. All right, so I'm just going to read that once again. The simultaneous occurrence of events which appear significantly related but have no discernible causal connection. Okay, so that's the foundation by which we're working for this particular episode. So,
yeah.
All right. So, and there's one, right? If you find in any of these videos, in any video, if you happen to YouTube, and you find yourself, if you've been looking for guidance on something, but then you're going to YouTube to look up something totally unrelated, but then you find the information that you were looking for before. Am I making sense?
Yes.
Okay. So then it's coming into alignment or it's synchronizing with you, even though you went in there to look up how to repair something on your car. You wound up stumbling across a video on something that you have been trying to process through. So floor is open, guys. Floor is
open.
You want to tell us about the synchronicity that you just recently had happen?
Okay. Well, a couple times during tarot readings. Well, one time during a tarot reading, I have two spirit guides. One is called Two-Feathered Turtle, and one is his brother, Flying Eagle. My daughter was doing a reading for me, and sure enough, she had a card in her deck that was Two-Feathered Turtle. There was an Indian individual sitting on a ledge, and above him, flying, was an eagle. And it just blew us both away because it's just like it had been a while since I had talked with them, and it was quite clear that they needed to talk to me about something. Then the other one, Tish gave me a deck, an angel deck, and I was going through it the other day, and sure enough, these guys must want to talk to me again or something, because there was an individual, an American Indian, two feathers, and right behind him in the background was an eagle. It's like, what's the chance of that happening once, more or less twice? So it's just like the synchronicity of them telling me, hey, we need to talk to you about something. And that was the other day. I've got to do that, but it's just the idea was put out there. It's like, we need to talk to you about something. And sure enough, I mean, maybe tonight, now that we're talking about it, maybe I'll get in contact with them.
Because here's yet another one, right? So
yeah.
The third. What would you say is the difference between synchronicity and coincidence?
I believe a synchronicity is a sign that you're on the right path in life, and it ties into things that you've asked questions about or you're looking for answers to. Whereas a coincidence sometimes feels like it bleeds into being a synchronicity, but it turns out to be completely unrelated.
Or like a deja vu could be a coincidence too. Or, something like that. It's just like a coincidence is something like, well, I don't know, but maybe I'm wrong.
Well, it's a coincidence, so it's not just an incident.
Yeah.
So we're looking at, possibly two incidences converging, right? So they're not necessarily related, although that can feel like, what a coincidence. I was just thinking about somebody and I ran into this particular person.
I think you can start to kind of fuel the fire with the synchronicity, making coincidences mean more than they really are. It's what you see play out with what the coincidence was after the fact that I think would let you know whether it was a synchronicity or not.
I just want to. So, the simultaneous occurrence of events which appear significantly related, and I think those are the key words there, but have no discernible causal connection, where this is where we can also start talking about angel numbers. So maybe you've been seeing 1111 or 444 or a particular series of numbers. So it could be getting you to look up, you can Google, you can search the meaning for number 1111, the fours, the twos, whatever it may be. And then it's in that information that you're reading that now all of a sudden, so it seems, I don't know, like that's where you may find that you're getting the guidance of something that you've been looking for. Or it's helping to steer you that, I don't even know if what I'm doing is the right thing. Like, am I on the right track? And then you pull up a series of numbers that you've been seeing, or a number that you've been seeing in a series, and it's like a sign from the angels letting you know that you're on the right track. So if you know that particular number represents for you that you're on the right track, and then you're bebopping along, and then something else happens in life, you're like, oh, I wonder if I'm, am I on the right track here? Then all of a sudden you pass a mailbox with that number or that series of numbers on the mailbox. So two separate incidents, but they have a significant relationship, right? Because it's, again, like the universe is telling you, yes, you just asked, and we just showed you this number or these numbers that represent that you're on the right track. Making sense?
Yes, and there's also oftentimes a repeating message that helps you verify that the message is being given to you on purpose to show you that you're on the right path as a form of synchronicity. One example that I like to talk about is when I was really beginning my light worker path in spirituality. Far after I had my first spiritual awakening, but just wasn't sure what I wanted to do with the inner being I have inside of me. What's the purpose? And I had a reading done by a psychic reader over Skype. And one of the things she said to me was, "You're a light worker." And at that time, I had no idea that I actually was, or I felt the split energy inside of me of I am, yet my face on the screen and the words that came out of my mouth was I am. She goes, you're a light worker. And at that time, I was split in my energy, was questioning things. What do I do with this? Where do I go with this? And one of the things she said to me is you need to come out of the closet and show the world the light worker you. And I said, okay, how do I start doing that? And she suggested, I suggest that you first start looking into energy healing. So from there, and I'll try to condense this story to what gets to the point of the synchronicity. I contacted an old coworker of mine who was a Reiki master and had her own side business doing Reiki. She came to my house, she performed Reiki on me, and during the process of doing the Reiki and showing me a little bit about the Reiki, I actually felt the energy in the work there. And I said to her, I want to do this. because it was just there for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized in that moment this was energy healing. She suggested to me a book to get, Essential Reiki by Diane Stein. I looked up the book because I'm sometimes somebody who wants that instant gratification when it comes to being on my path.
Mm-hmm.
If I could find the book local versus buying it online, I'll go get it local, start reading it that day kind of thing. I found the book at a Barnes & Noble up in Cleveland, which is about 40-ish minutes away from my house at the time. And so I ordered it online. I said, I'm going to go pick it up tomorrow. Show up there to pick it up. As I walked into the Barnes & Noble, instead of walking up to the counter to just pick up my book, something says to me, why don't you go see what other books they have here before you grab your book and leave? So instead of going up to the customer care counter and picking up my book that I ordered, I went upstairs to their spiritual section. And something that I have fun doing is I like to put my hand up at the books and just go across them until I feel a warmth and a resonance on the books without even really looking at the titles of the books. And as I started scanning with my hand lit up with heat on this book, so I moved my hand out of the way. The book is called Lightworker.
How about that?
Very nice.
And I lit up inside. I felt the warm, tingly sensation that for me tells me, this is something, you need to pay attention to. I was like, that is a synchronicity in itself. I didn't think about this book. I never would have known about this book, but it was there. I pulled the book off the shelf and I opened it up like I do a lot of books and start looking at the table of contents to look at names of chapters and kind of get an idea of what's in the book. I don't remember off the top of my head if it was the third chapter or somewhere along the lines there, but one of the chapters' names was Coming Out of the Lightworker Closet.
Wow.
And I took a picture of that and I said, I'm buying this book. I was meant to come to this store to look at this section to find this book to get that synchronicity there to let me know that I'm on the right path. And you just feel it inside. Like I said, for me, it's a warm, tingly feeling that flushes through my whole body, but it's that sense of knowing that you're on the right path by being given these nudges and notions and then finding these signs. Whether it's a visual sign, whether it's something that you hear, something that you just feel inside. That was the beginning of my spiritual path that took me to where I'm at here today with these lovely folks. And it's something that if I hadn't followed it, if I hadn't been open to it and listening to it and feeling it, I probably wouldn't be here today. So it takes somebody to be able to be open to see these synchronicities and then actually following them to get you to go where you're meant to go.
That's awesome.
Okay. And I am so these the last three episodes. So this one being synchronicity, one before this, if everything works out right and we go in order, being resistance, and the one before that being ascension. All of this plays a role together as well in a larger scheme of things. So there can be synchronicity in the resistance, right? Again, maybe I was first resistant about that log, but when I got out, the person that walked down the bank was an opening to that career change. You know what I mean? That, oh, you know what, I work in this industry as well, and we have an opening. So different things kind of converging or aligning. And then the first one, as we talked about with ascension, of when we are open and recognize the synchronicities in life, it brings us closer to, or another step, another pebble on our path, so to speak, another one step that we're taking to get to that broader sense within the awakening, within the broader sense within ascension.
Absolutely. Taking the guidance of our inner being, of our soul, of source, and utilizing that guidance in this physical life to help us progress and grow and expand.
in paying attention to those synchronicities can be really fun. And some may say, well, yeah, but if you say that, you're going to look for a yellow Jeep, or you'll know when you see a yellow Jeep, you get busy looking for a yellow Jeep. Well, first I would argue that there probably aren't, I know there are a lot of yellow Jeeps, but it isn't like red Fords, right? It's like every third person or something is a red Ford Escape or some kind of a red Ford. So you know what I mean? Of looking for something, yes, we can. If we're looking for something, we are inevitably going to find it. I'm thinking too about how people will set the intention, along the line of manifesting that when I get to the grocery store, that there's going to be a parking spot open for me within however many parking spaces up, close to the door, kind of manifesting. So in the synchronicity of it, that somebody would be needing to pull out at the time that you're pulling in to allow that occurrence to have manifested. Unless the spot's already open, I get it if you go during slow time. But
now, whether or not it happens may depend on how much resistance you have to it happening.
See, we're gonna go down the rabbit holes.
But it all ties together.
Right. Yes, it does.
Yeah, what's funny?
And if my resistance is saying I'm not going to find that spot,
Mm-hmm.
probably not going to find the spot.
Years ago, I wanted a yellow Jeep. All right, so I went ahead and bought it, and I'm thinking, you know what? Everybody's got a red Jeep. Everybody's got a green Jeep. Verbatim, for like 2 or 3 years, that's all I saw was yellow Jeeps. When I bought my current car, they said, well, there's only one out of 100,000 of those painted that color. Oh, cool, something unique, something different. That's all I've seen is that car, that color.
So
it's funny. It's kind of makes you laugh.
Right, and sometimes it's because we are specifically looking to see, right, for comparison's sake, whatever it may be, as opposed to when I'm not consciously looking for the yellow Jeep, I'm just throwing it out there that if I see a yellow Jeep, to me it's kind of like seeing a 111, for example. We're setting the intention of something and we go about life. It's almost like we've just kind of tucked it away somewhere or put it over to the side. Then we're chugging along and then bam, something comes up and it's like, wow, is this the right path for me? And then shoop, there goes that yellow Jeep. You're like, oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can also, though, again, looking at it a different way, benefit from the idea of opening up to the synchronicities by starting to notice things that we're intentionally looking for. Say you want to see a blue Ford Explorer on the road, and next thing you know, you go out driving and you see 20 of them during the day. And you go, oh, that's not a coincidence or a synchronicity. I said I wanted to see them, and now they're everywhere. But it is the whole point. You opened up to being aware of them.
That's a really good point.
You have
the conscious awareness.
You have been closed prior, so you didn't notice how many of them are around you. But once you open up to a specific thing, you're now seeing it more often.
Yeah, that's very cool. And that's a really cool thing about synchronicities. It's just sometimes they're downright startling. When they happen, it's just like, I don't know, how many times have I thought of the word synchronicity, but when it happens, it's like, yes, that's a synchronicity. I was meant to see that. I meant to do, and it's just sometimes it's downright fun to run into those.
So when I think of synchronicity, another word that tends to come to mind is serendipity, and I love that term because I'm not usually one for I don't know, but I love that movie, Serendipity. The definition of serendipity: the occurrence and development of events. The occurrence and development of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way. So to me, I feel like the sisterhood of synchronicity and serendipity within that. Again, the synchronicity, the simultaneous occurrence of events, which appear significantly related, but they have no discernible causal connection. Serendipity, the occurrence and development of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way. And I think about, in the movie, it was these occurrences that led the two of them, you know, didn't somebody have a glove, the other one had a book, or they wrote something in a book, it's been many years now. And then meeting up at the end of the movie. So just the serendipitous ways or the synchronicity of things that align us to meet our partner. That, oh my goodness, that if I wouldn't have gone on that trip, I never would have met that person. That things just coming into an alignment. Yeah, just that convergence of events.
Yep. So when there's a releasing of resistance and an opening of the mind, of the heart, of the soul, to being aware of the signs and synchronicities given to us from the non-physical side that helps guide us through to the places we need to go and the people that we need to meet and the things that we need to do. It makes the world an enhanced place, and we start to see things in more vivid colors, and we start to smell things in different ways. It's that opening up. It's the releasing and the letting go, and then being present. I think presence may be even one of the most important pieces to it.
Right, I hear presence and I'm feeling conscious awareness, like we are right here in the moment.
If you're stuck in the past or you're anxious about the future, you aren't able to pay attention to the present and see the synchronicities as they're happening.
Yeah, maybe when we're in those two different points of time is when the universe is putting the log in front of us because we're not paying attention to the log up front because we're still thinking about, maybe the bear we saw on the riverbanks, a couple miles up the river. So,
yeah.
But I want to double back too about how you were saying from the non-physical, and this is where a lot of us opening up to spirituality, whether that's religious based or not, of knowing that there are forces greater than the physical world, that we are, whether it's energy, whether you see them as guides, angels, higher self, God, whatever it is that you may perceive, or all the above, of bringing that we are energy, it's the spirit within the body, to me is what really gives it life, right? Life, like that richness. That when we are more in tune, aligned with, present with, consciously aware of that energy, of that spiritual existence within us, it just opens up this vast universe of possibilities that instead of focusing on something small, all of a sudden I'm seeing things from a larger perspective. And then I'm open up to even more synchronicities or to serendipitous situations, whatever the terminology is. Maybe more so of releasing that resistance of knowing that the universe, which actually brings me to trust, because trust is a really big thing for a lot of people. And the more that we trust ourselves, it's hard to trust something you're not connected to, right? For most of us. The more that we work with a non-physical, the more that we get validation, bringing us confidence and trust, then the more we're comfortable with saying, I know the universe has my back. And I know that I am protected, that I am being led, I'm being guided divinely, and therefore I can trust my footing, the path that I'm walking.
Yeah, I think if your life is in a position where you're unhappy or you feel stuck, you are looking in places outside of the present and you aren't paying attention to the synchronicities that are happening that are actually guiding you. Because you were open and you were present, you would see the path being laid upon you, and you would feel good enough to take the steps along that path, and you wouldn't have the sense of stuckness or happiness going on.
And can I just read your in here so I know? Let's see if I'm okay. And I'm sure a lot of us have seen this. I was born in 1969. You know, dash, and then whatever the year shall be for my passing, right? So, 1969 to, and then whatever the years. Well, I don't live it a long time with 5 dashes. I don't want to live that long. And then what is the saying, right? Like, everything happens in the dash, right? This is just a moment in time of birth. This is a moment in time of death. But everything happens in that little hash mark, that little dash. And what are we doing with that? If we can get out of a place that's fear-based, if we can get out of, being afraid to move forward, being afraid of abandonment, when we see things in this larger, greater universe, this divine light, right, where there's a greater sense of trust, a greater sense of love, this dash that really, in the grand scheme of things, is fleeting, makes it just so much more vibrant and brilliant, that it isn't just this simple mundane dash that we're walking through. It's colorful. It feels right. It feels good. And I don't know if I'm going to be here. I'm going to enjoy the dash.
And the great thing about that dash is that dash is unique to each individual soul.
Mm-hmm.
Since we are all unique individuals, even though we come from the same source, the experience and the perspective is always going to be different in some form or some fashion. And tapping into that internal source and that internal drive within us to follow what the path is for us and create what we came here to create individually and uniquely is what's going to lead us to our best lives. We do not have to follow the templates provided to us by society on how to live.
Or even the template of youth. And that's the beautiful thing. Everybody is responsible for their own happiness and for their own soul. And when we recognize this more and more so as we get into adulthood, as we recognize this more and more, we get to take responsibility for our lives today as we start healing through processing out of the conditioning. So then we can enjoy that whenever the person, if not, whenever they're ready to do so. All right, so we are at time, so we're going to close up. For anybody who is watching this, we really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Or if you want to know how to get rid of.
All you got to do is shut off the tube. You'll get rid of this real fast.
If you want to know how to get in touch with one of these gentlemen, it's been a long day. Reach out, let me know. All right, so again, thank you. Until next time, be well and namaste.
Thank you. Take care.